Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Arcane Isles. Today, I've been doing a little bit of work behind us here. We have ourselves some drigmies, so we'll get to that. Drigmies are pretty simple to set up. Just, make the charm. The charm's a pretty simple recipe, and you then right-click it onto a mossy stone, which turns into a drigmy hinge, and then you have these little bouncing guys walking around and dancing. What they do is basically they convert source jar here, into mob drops. All these various mobs around here, it will start harvesting items from them. So I've had this been going for a little bit, had a little bit of AFK time. I was able to get beef I don't need yet, but I will need that for some of the quests later on. Mostly I needed some blaze rods and ender pearls. I didn't really have a good source for either of those. Last time I went to the nether, we died when we tried to do blazes. And ender pearls, well, yeah, ender pearls are always a problem. So basically, these guys here are just going to be bouncing around for a bit, and we'll get various things from them. Wings and horns are going to be useful later as well. Gunpowder I don't actually need for anything, really. Leather is useful for quite a few things, and yeah, glow ink just because it's fun. Anyway, over here, I have been trying to figure out how I want to design this place. So if we fly, we have a flight ritual, we can take a look at what we've got. We've got a large octagon, and that's about it. Now my plan is it will be a fairly tall structure. Hopefully flight doesn't run out on us here. First floor is going to be storage. Second floor is going to be some automation stuff, essence crafting and stuff like that. And a third floor that I haven't really decided yet, that'll be smaller. So kind of go up and then like a dome kind of thing on top. That's the plan. Still working out the block palette, though I'm not entirely convinced that I'm happy with this yet, but we'll see what happens. So what are we working on today? Well, that is a good question, actually. I kind of want to do an overview here first. So I have various kind of little islands on the side here, which I've merged now into one main island. We'll have some floating islands later, but for right now, the main island's kind of what we're working on. So on each of the sides here, this is vexing. You'll notice I did switch over the mycelium over to grass. Might do that, I'm not sure. Mycelial side over here, the vexing is going to be for source production. So right now I've got the berries here, I've got some farming as well, but yeah, so we're going to need to bump up our source production because this is producing quite a lot. It's filled up all these jars here, but it's not enough for our uses. And our uses are then over here at the Blazing Island, which we've got a small change. This is our cobble gen, which we can go over it. Right now it is set for crushing stuff. Basically, this spell here is a huge step up. It is touch, chaining, crush, 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 and pick up. So basically, I just added the chaining spell in there. A single glyph allows me to get 16 of these. So I've got lava sources over on this side, and over on this side we have waterlogged leaves. So basically, if I do this, turn that on, it'll go through doing 16 at a time. And as you can see, it is quite productive. So lots of copper, don't have use for it yet. Diamonds, everything else that we need, it is working great. Of course, that being said, hello, hole. That being said, this goes through a lot of source, like a lot. The source generation over here, it would be able to keep up. The problem is that the berries cannot be harvested fast enough. We've got a little bit of a backlog right now, but I've been kind of turning this on and off as we go, just kind of waiting for that to fill up the backlog chest. Do this for a bit, turn that off, turn back on, that sort of thing. Anyway, we're expanding our islands here, and with our source generation in the Vexing Island over here is going to be most of our main industrial production. So cobble gen, we've got ourselves this right here. This is our volcanic source link from early on. It's going to go away eventually. Right now I'm using it just to generate some lava here. But I do plan on expanding each of these islands. So this is our industry island, source gen island. Over here is going to be mobs. So right now we've got drigmies, but I'm also planning on putting a mob farm over here. So that's going to be another good source of source for that matter, because a vitalic source link will be able to generate quite a lot of power from a mob farm. We may or may not need that actually, though. We'll see. that's the plan for this. For now, I'm just going to expand everything. And over here at the Cascading Island, I don't actually have a plan. Now, as you can see, each of these islands has this dirt sticking off the side, and that is because like I said a few times now, I'm going to be expanding. Let's go down here, grab Ritual. I have it in my backpack, never mind. There we go, and 3 of those. Let's grab 3 source jars as well. 1, 2, 3. Oop, that was not a full jar. So what I've done is I counted out from the center of the island. I made sure to keep track of where the center of that one was. Went out 16 blocks, and that is the center part here. So then 16, 16, and 16. And basically, we're just going to go plop and 1 over here as well. And right there. We're going to have, basically it's going to be a quad island, kind of in a big diamond shape, and it should be roughly symmetrical. I think it should be symmetrical at least. There will be a gap in the middle here. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of digging up some dirt in the meantime between here. So I can use that to patch it in. So when it's all done, it'll all be basically the same depth down here to the 5 blocks deep. Is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So it's going to start off with a hole in the middle here, but we'll just patch that up as we get to it. So that's going to be the plan on each of those. And I think we can go ahead and get this one started. Plop you there and give you that. And go ahead and start. Cool. And just so that we have extra dirt, that's always good to have. So we'll be back once a couple of these are done. And the last island is now forming here. I think I dug out a little bit there, so it should fill out. There we go, perfect. Okay, just wanted to make sure there wasn't an air gap in there. And basically, this is going to be kind of the new shape of our island. I'm going to have 3 new islands on each of these. I'm just going to kind of do those off camera because it's kind of boring just watching these form up here. Luckily, they're only 1 jar each, so we can afford it pretty easily. And like I said, we'll fill in this little center area, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. And we have, for that, we actually have our effortless building is back. Let's go ahead and fill that one in, and at least now we won't fall down. Perfect. And this is all, like I said, it's all mushroom fields here, so we shouldn't have to worry about mobs too much. Although the middle here, I want to make sure the middle here is still mushroom fields. Okay, so it converts the area of the island itself, so I want to make sure that there wasn't any accidental small area of a different biome in the middle here, but it looks like we got it all. And just like that, we have ourselves a whole lot more room to work with. Right here is the center of these islands, and I'm actually kind of a little disappointed. So right here, when it was being formed, it was still being marked as a river biome, and I was hoping to keep at least 1 block of that, but it looks like I lost all the river biome. The reason for that is I'm going to need salmon later on for some of the cooking quests. I think one of these, I think the kelp roll or something needs salmon. Either way, I know a lot of people have been struggling to get salmon, so my hope is if I go off the edge over here, river right there. So basically it's only going to convert the area right next to it, and so right here we're at a stony shore, and right here is river. I think what I'm going to do is make a small platform here and get some water going. That way what I can do is get some salmon to spawn, capture 1 in a jar, and stick that over by my drigmies. So let's see, your archwood. Looks like all of these are, except for this one. Okay, so this is river, this is not, this is river, this is river. Okay, so let's outline a little bit here and see if we can find all the river biome that we have. Not you. Alright, hopefully this is enough. This is a 5x5 all river biome, so let's go ahead and fill you in. There's 1 layer, and let's see if it will spread if I do this as well. Perfect. So So now, if we give this a little bit of room, ideally further away from our water friends over there, hopefully we'll get something eventually. I'm just going to kind of monitor this for a while. I might end up sticking the containment ritual itself there, just so it'll capture things as soon as they spawn, but they'll probably end up getting a whole bunch of squid as well. So far nothing, but there is 2 other people online, so it may take a little bit. Let's ideally not die here. You know what I might do? I might kill off everything over here. That might help. Sorry, Little Mermaid. I've gone through and gotten rid of all the grass and stuff in here because, like I said, this is going to be kind of an industrial area. So we're going to have, I'm not sure what kind of buildings here, but there's a lot of things I want to build in particular, mostly automation steps. But while I was clearing all of those, I happened to walk over here and we did find ourselves 3 salmon. So we have 3 buckets of salmon now, which is good. We can go ahead and capture one of these. Do I have a jar on me? I do. Okay. So one thing I noticed, tile of containment running. You can change the colors of the lights on here. So if I, for instance, I can make it be purple. Let's stand further away. Now it's a purple light. It's still running though. And I did test this by throwing an item down, so we can just kind of plop you there, capture you. Cool. Didn't wash away anything. And we have a rather live looking salmon. I feel you should at least be upright. You look kind of sad on there. Anyway, Drigmies won't care. So let's go ahead and plop you over there and get some salmon into our system as well. Right here on top of the catworks, I suppose. How are we doing over here? Lots of good stuff. We even have some gold coming in from a zombie piglin that was following me around, and a little bit of iron actually from a zombie villager. So this guy here, zombie villager, you and I are going to be good friends, but right now I'm going to just leave you here for now. I do need to get villagers. Villagers are a very important thing in this pack, and that is because, well, we need emeralds, and we don't really have any other way of getting emeralds besides villagers. Also, I don't have a good spot for... Dump that there. Scoop that out. Just collecting my lava. There we go. Yeah, so let's get some work on some automation steps. Real quick aside here, bookworms. Bookworm storage is pretty cool. I like it. Kind of a quick overview. We've got the main storage lectern over there. It's hooked up to our chests here. I'll also be hooking it up to these limited barrels from sophisticated storage. There's a bit of inventory management kind of logistics that I'm going to be working on. So I want to kind of do a quick overview of what's going on here. Right now I have 24 connected inventories. That is these 12 chests and these 12 chests here. We did manage to convince Bailey to bump up the bookworm chest counter to be 8 per bookworm instead of 6. So these 4 guys here can actually take another 16 chests, which is awesome. However, I do need to destroy everything and start over. 2 things with that. One is I want to bump the floor up by 1 because I want it to be higher than outside. So like you're walking around out here, I want to have a step up into the main storage room in the main hall here because it's going to be big. Just feels a little bit better walking up. But another thing is the way that these send items, if I throw an oxide daisy in there, I don't actually know where it goes. It kind of just goes to wherever. Apparently that one went here because I had some oxide daisies already. But otherwise, these chests are just complete chaos. And the order that these guys work in is basically whichever ones you bind first is going to be the number 1 priority. So I connected this one first, and apparently the first item I threw in was a bookworm charm, because why not? It's going to default to whichever one it can find first if there is room in it. There is some labeling you can do, but I think that it kind of ignores the order. So like if I have this one over here labeled for dirt, I think if I put dirt in, it's still going to go to over here where there's already some dirt. Or maybe it'll look for the first available slot still, which may be this one. That one's dirt in it already. So dirt's a bad example because I have a bunch of it. It kind of goes in the order of which you connected them. So a system that Zachary and I are talking about and that he has running at his base, which is that direction very far, 2,000 blocks, is these limited barrels. Because what you can do is you can connect them with a storage controller. Do I have a linking tool on me? storage tool here. If I hold this, you can see that it is connected to all of those. It's not connected over here because I just broke a bunch of them and replaced them because I was changing some stuff. So basically what you can do then is you can connect this storage controller to your Bookworm network, and this one controller will handle all of these barrels, or what you can also do is sophisticated storage chests is another option. So I want to use the barrels because it's more visible, and you can also do kind of more controlled upgrades. So for instance, I would have ingots in this one, maybe dirt and stone in this one, wood. I can sort things out and it'll be very visible for where everything is instead of the complete chaos of chests. And again, this only will count as a single inventory for Mr. Bookworm over there, which is pretty handy. Another thing that has been changed between versions here is the storage lectern has a range of 30 blocks now. So this guy here was just barely going to be 20 blocks, because I think right here is 20 blocks from the center, or rather this block here is 20 blocks from the center. Whereas this guy here, so I can do it 30 blocks now because I got to have it further over here. We're trying to see if we can get something like almost like a relay. So instead of having lecterns chained together, it would just be relays. And I also then have this underground. Now, one thing that you notice is there is something underneath here, and that is a scry crystal. So a scry crystal is used with the, if I look at scry, there's a couple things here, the crystal itself, and then there's the Scryer's Oculus. Scryer's Oculus, we used that a little bit last season. It's kind of as a remote camera, so you can look into the Oculus and be able to look through any of the various crystals that it is bound to. What this one is doing, however, is something that's a little more interesting, and that is we have an Enchanter's Eye. Now, an Enchanter's Eye also links up to the Scryer's Crystal, but it can cast spells through it. So I could bind this to a scroll and look through it with an Oculus and be able to see, well, the bottom of a storage lectern, not too interesting. But what you can also do is you can cast spells. So one spell that is in particular very interesting is, hey, I wonder if I could right-click that lectern over there from anywhere. And the answer is with a Scryer's or Enchanter's Eye with Projectile Interact bound to that location. Yes, you can. You now have a full remote access as long as it is loaded. It is part of the mod, it is native to the mod, it is just a rather unconventional method of doing it. Whether or not we get an actual more intentional method, such as there's been talk of maybe the Bookworm Familiar getting that ability, but it's kind of a toss-up because I kind of like that it exists. We have remote access to storage as long as it's loaded, but that's going to be par for the course for any sort of remote storage. We have it. It's already here. So it can be anywhere, pretty much anywhere in my base. It's all going to be loaded within loaded chunks there. You have full access to your storage from anywhere. And that works for dropping things in as well as taking things out. So yeah, it's kind of a fun, it is intentional. I think it was Bailey actually who we were kind of brainstorming, like, how do we want to implement this? And we realized, we might actually be able to do this already just as it is. And yeah, the answer is yes, we can. So that's kind of a fun, useful thing is Enchanter's Eye with Projectile Interact. And it can be anywhere. I think Zachris has his behind one of his lecterns. I might actually bind it instead to one that's underground somewhere. Or another thing that Bailey mentioned is if I look up False Weave, we have a couple of these. What I could actually do is, since the False Weave can take any block, in this case dirt, which probably is not ideal. Did that use up a dirt? No, it doesn't use the dirt, okay. What you could do is if I bind this one block lower instead, so let's take our pick, break that there, plop you down, and say bind it to you. Cool, position set. Does it still work? Yep. A little bit of a delay there now because it has to travel the extra block, but that's fine. If we stick a false weave there and do this, now grass won't grow over it because it is a false weave set to specifically dirt, not a dirt block that can't have grass grown on it. I don't have Silk Touch yet, so that's what we would need that. But what I can instead do is have this either be completely underground, the whole lectern, or I could have, different block underneath here that work just as well. But it's kind of an interesting thing there. Can still do this. Yes, false weave works for projectiles to go through it. So yeah, it's kind of a hidden little remote access. And one last thing here with the general base logistics is a thing that's actually broken in the current version. If you place a chest next to a lectern, it will pull from it. And I can show that more clearly over here. If I plop this down, I can throw a couple of the source gem blocks in here. And they disappeared. Perfect. So it basically will just pull it into the lectern directly. So that is one thing. If I do it over here, I believe it's not going to work. This is a bug right now. It should work, but it got broken in the last version. The reason it got broken is actually kind of a very interesting and awesome thing, though. If I grab a hopper, let's go ahead and just grab one. Cool, thank you. What we can do now is we can actually hopper directly into these now. And that just goes over there. The blocks will go in. In fact, we can verify that if I, let's see, we've got glass. We got 164 of that. So now it doesn't even show up. If I put this in here, it will start filling it up. Let's go find, has 100 glass right now. And if I look at it again, still 100. Good to know. That's apparently also currently a bug. Good to know. Only 100. Okay, so that currently is voiding it. I'm assuming that's a bug because it should be working over here. I will definitely notify Bailey that that is a thing. If I hopper you into here, does that work? 100 glass. Actually, it's going to pull the whole thing, isn't it? Yeah. So 126. Okay. So hoppering into this one doesn't really make sense because it being a chest, it's just going to get dumped directly in anyway. But we should be able to hopper and pull from these lecterns, which means I can do that with Starbuncles as well. And similarly, assuming that the other bug with the hopper gets fixed there, if I have a Starbuncle here, I have him pulling from the storage lectern and depositing into this chest with a glass label on it. I can drop this in here, and he will happily go pick it up. So you can pull from these guys as well as you'll be able to insert once that bug gets fixed. Which means we basically, if we can get a bunch of these lecterns around our base, we can have remote input and output to our main storage being over here, from basically anywhere. So that means we can have something like a tree farm over here that'll just be continuously chopping down archwoods or maybe even oak or something, and that'll automatically be sent back into our storage here, which means we have full access to basically complete base logistics with the Bookworm lectern system. Good news, everybody. Between the last clip and this one, Bailey actually pushed an update, and so pretty much all the problems I already had with the storage lectern have now been resolved. I can hopper into it, which means I can also Starbuncle into it, as well as these remote lecterns will be able to pull from an adjacent inventory, which I don't have one on me to demonstrate. So that's all fixed. Cool. Other good news is I just realized that I've been recording the whole thing in the wrong resolution on my screen here. I have to hit F11 and make it full screen instead of maximizing it because my monitor is slightly taller than a normal monitor for some reason. Anyway, all that's behind us. Right now, I want to work on some automation, and I realized before I can do that, we don't have enough power generation. Ignore this tree. It's simple to make. It's just tree, blazing tree plus 3 lightning rods gets us a flashing sapling. So cool, we have 5 trees now. It's unimportant. So like I was saying, we need power. We've got our power generation over there. Currently it's basically just the berries and a little bit of a crop field here, which is generating power, not a whole lot though. I want to work on a power generation that I haven't actually used myself yet. And in order to do that, we need to go over here and we need to take a ritual brazier, put it right there, and we need some Wilden summon rituals. Yeah, we're going to summon some Wildens. As I mentioned earlier with the Drigme, we don't have the Wilden Defender yet. We have the Hunter and the Stalker, which is the horns and the wings. Probably in a different order than that, but whatever. This ritual here can summon the Chimera, which we are not ready for yet, but if you do it without an augmentation, what it'll do is it will happily summon a bunch of random Wilden mobs. So I'm hoping that, so basically I used some wings in order to start this ritual. There we go, got 1 defender. I used the wings, because I've got a bunch of wings now, but I don't have, we are probably going to die here. We don't have any of those defender guys, so with this, we should be able to get a few of them, and ideally not die. I said ideally not die. Got quite a bit of knockback on them. So I'm just going to clean these guys up real quick. You can go away. Last one. And let's go ahead and eat, because that is starting to hurt. Go away. There we go. Okay, now we have this guy here, and I'm hoping I can get him to follow me all the way over here to the containment ritual. Just grab a jar here real quick. You gonna come over here, buddy? Well, that is the problem with ranged mobs here, is they want to stay their distance. I wonder if I can get you to run away. Are you like a skeleton where you'll try to run away? No. Can you go that way? Here. Go. He might hurt me, we'll find out. One thing is that the boat is going to get trapped in there as well, which is not ideal. Can I reach that lever? I want you on, which will turn that off. Okay, so if we hop out, hello there. Let's grab an axe and F3B here. There we go. Thank you, and goodbye. Cool. Alright, well, Mr. Defender is added over there to the pile. We can turn off F3B here. Easy enough. I don't actually need the rest of these Wilden Summon tablets yet, so I'll just keep those for later. And I think now we can get started on actually getting some power running over here. Throughout the various quests that we have through this mod, or mod pack rather, I have gotten 3 Wixie shards, and I'm going to use one of these right now. I need lightning rod, sapling, diamond, and crafting table. It's easy enough to get. Let's see, lightning rod is basically just copper. Got plenty of that. I'm going to get 3 of these. I'm just going to make all 3 of these into shards. Actually, that needs 3 anyway. So I'm probably going to need to get some actual witches for that. Okay, we'll just, we'll do 1 for now. Okay, so we need, what did I say, a diamond. Okay, and I needed a crafting table, which is going to be wood. Got plenty of archwood, I think. And what was the last ingredient there? A sapling, perfect. We've got plenty of you as well. Okay, so we'll get this crafting up. I moved my enchanting apparatus over here. Wixie, lightning rod, sapling, there we go. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and the Wixie shard goes in there, perfect. While that's crafting up, let me get the rest of the ingredients I'll need. Alrighty, so I've been getting some materials here and doing some testing. And I'm not happy with the results, to be honest, but we're gonna go forward anyway. What I'm doing over here is I'm looking at our potion setup because alchemical source link. I'm thinking that's what we're going to do to power our base this year, or season. So to kind of give an overview, we start with making an awkward potion because that's what potions do, and you can then turn it into an actual useful potion such as Sourceberry for mana regen or Mage Bloom for spell damage. Now if we look at our quests here in the mixed brews section, full awkward potion jar will get us a quest reward here. There's also a spell damage 2, mana regeneration 2 quest, and basically as you go along it just adds in additional things. Recovery and shielding are extra things here to finish out these quests. Additionally we'll want some blasting because that's another quest. But when doing some research here on how this actually works and the numbers of what you get, it's not going to make sense to power the source link using a melded potion. Using the potion melder here, you can combine the mana regen and spell damage to get yourself a mana regen spell damage potion, which is very nice for actually drinking, but not for source generation. So the reasons behind that is there's a whole formula back here for what happens. Basically, for each potion that it drinks, you get a 75 base source from it, and for every effect you gain another 150. And then for each effect that's in it, you get plus 250 source if it is an amplified, so like a spell damage level 2 potion, and the duration overall, divide that by 50, duration in ticks, divide that by 50 gets you some bonus for the duration as well, and then for each effect it gets another 1.5 multiplier on the end after all the above. What that works out to in real numbers, unfortunately, is a melded potion with a mana regen 1 and spell damage 1 only gets you 778, as opposed to 297 for a base potion. And of course, while looking at that, it seems like, oh yes, the melded is much better. The problem is, however, the potion melder, the way it works, is it will take 3 mana regen 1s and 3 spell damage 1s to get me a single output, which I don't even have sitting here, of the mana regen and spell damage combined potion. It'll take 3 of each of these to get 1 output, which means 6 to 1 ratio here. Last I checked, 6 times 297 is considerably more than 778. So let's get some light here. Basically, you're going to lose out. It's going to basically cut your output in half. I was hoping to be able to put together a big production line, have some mega potion as the output, and feed it into the alchemical source link and get, a full jar each time. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. I did post a thing on the Discord for a suggestion is to tweak how this works, either increase the output of the alchemical source link for this melded potions, maybe increase that multiplier, or maybe change something with the potion melder so it doesn't take a 6 to 1 ratio. All that being said, I think we're going to automate some spell damage potions and feed these over here to the source link because, again, that does give us almost 300 source per potion, which it's not too bad. So comparing a single source berry in the mycelial source link, we get 70 source out of that instead of the 297 if we were to turn that into a potion. So even our berry farm over here, it would actually probably make sense to convert these into potions. I guess to be fair, it's going to be costing us 10 source for the netherwort here and another 10 for the actual potion. But for that matter, you also are actually tripling this because you get 3 times potion output. Just like a regular brewing stand, 1 ingredient can get you 3 potions. So where do we want to do this? I'm kind of thinking, like I said before, this is our mana or source generation area. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe put together a little potion factory over here. I think this field I'm going to move actually as planning this for berries, but it won't actually, the harvest ritual cannot harvest the berries. And again, it doesn't make sense to combine them anyway. So I think I'm going to redesign this thing here, make a small little field kind of in the back there that's just dedicated to our Wixie production for creating some potions. So I'm thinking over here is a good spot. And one last little thing for details on the numbers here. If I instead make a potion with a Wilden Spike, which is from the Defenders, which we now have over there in our Drigmies anyway. This ingredient actually is kind of interesting. Most of the Wilden ingredients, if you look at the uses, it'll brew into a water-breathing potion, this one for instance, straight from a water bottle, which means it saves you this extra crafting step of the netherwort. You can just craft straight with the Wilden Spikes and get extended potions. Now, each of the extended potions is worth 417, which is better than the a little under 300 there for the base potion, because it is an 8-minute potion. If I look at this, water breathing 8 minutes. So this isn't actually a bad idea to take just spikes here, brew that into 3 potions, 4 and 17, it's around 1200 or so for 3 potions. So that would actually be a decent idea. I'm thinking I'm not going to do that for the sole reason of my mobs are over here, and then I'd have to move them over here, and I'm kind of lazy, so I'm just going to have a setup over here. It's all self-contained. So I went away in order to prepare a small little area to set up some Wixies for our potion automation, and quite honestly I got a little I got carried away. So we have ourselves a nice little potion house. I like it so far. I'm going to replace the floor here. I don't want the plain cobblestone. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the floor yet, but I've got, as you can see, we have a potion set up here, cauldron, a couple platforms with the potions I'll be making, Aqua Potion and Potion of Spell Damage. We have a new block here, Repository. In fact, I need to actually move that. Let me grab an axe real quick. axe. Right there. Thank you. So I'm going to move this. Really, is it not an axe? Okay, we'll just use break spell then. That works. And good, that does drop the item. Basically here, and I need to remove these guys, we're going to have some items growing in the back here. Nice little, it'll be a greenhouse eventually. For now it's just a garden. We have some netherwort and some mage bloom. Not a whole lot growing here, but that is because I actually have bigger fields down below here. So I can have a small area visible up here, so it looks like a nice, quaint little garden, but still getting the drops as a full farm would. Basically, the actual harvest ritual is at this level here, so it can reach the mage bloom and netherwort down below here. It reaches 1 block below, and it's happily growing the ones up top as well. So inside here, we can then go ahead and get our Wixie sorted out. I will say I'm not quite happy with the chimney here, how it works on the inside. Basically, I wanted to have a chimney to break up the flat plane of the roof here on the outside. I'm not entirely satisfied with it yet, and I want something on this side, probably like a dormer or window or something like that, poking out to this side. Not entirely sure yet. For now, though, I wanted to get on the actual progress of, actual, production. So, Wixie onto the cauldron. Magically becomes a Wixie cauldron, if you see up in the top there. And it will eventually, there we go, we have ourselves a little Wixie. Hello there. And you have 2 tasks. You have Potion of Spell Damage and Potion of Awkward Potion. Currently, though, you don't have... Yeah, so you can watch her here. She's cycling back and forth between the two. Basically, she's like, okay, well, I don't have any room for that one, so I'm not going to start crafting it. So we have Awkward Potion and Spell Damage. Let's do Awkward Potion can fit there. Spell Damage can go right there. And I currently picked up the alchemical source link I had, I believe. Down here I've got a agronomic, which is filling up that, which is powering the harvest ritual. So these guys here... You are not crafting anything, and I believe that should be because you can't reach there yet, which is really the intention. Enchanters, let's grab ourselves a Starbuncle. I don't have one in there. Do I have one in here? Yes. Okie dokie. You, hello there. You are going to have a job to do, and that is what these repositories are for. I think I'm going to put them here. Do I want them here or on both sides? I like symmetry, but that's a longer walk for you. Okie dokie, we've got ourselves a couple item frames here. I'm going to put them on top. I have these floating up in the air because I'm planning on putting a table underneath them. Unfortunately, I don't really have the correct types of wood for that. In fact, I'll go over how I got the spruce wood here in a moment. But let's go ahead and grab 2 of these. One of you, thank you. And we're going to go with the netherwort right there. And mage bloom on this side. And then you, my friend, have a job to do. That will be going over here and going over here. Shift right click, there we go. And next up, you need to know to take from this chest. This is, by the way, just a chest with water on it there because I need to have the water for the crop over here. I need to go from this chest to the Starbuncle, and you should start working. Awkward Potion over here should start filling up pretty much immediately. You'll notice with the repository here, as it gets filled up, it will start actually filling in the books on the shelves as well. The idea is this is for the Bookworm lectern. You can link these up pretty easily. These are basically a double chest and a single chest block. You can also rename them, which adds some interesting things in here with the Bookworm itself, as we're slowly getting this closer and closer to release. And meanwhile, our Wixie here is getting to work. She's just going back and forth, and as she produces things, she takes from the next one. Right now she's grabbing the netherwort. We have 1% over here. And you can see the potion effect comes back over here. It's actually already landed. It's just a kind of a particle that goes along there. And as you can see, we are slowly filling up our potion of spell damage. Up to 6% now, up to 9 now. For each ingredient, it'll be worth 3%. So this is actually quite a lot of potions in here. It's the same as if you were to do it in a brewing stand, but I mean a stack here is really 3 times 64, so it's a considerable amount of potion, which is good for us because this is what I'm planning on doing for our actual power generation. 12% spell damage, cool. Now the actual quests here, if I look in the mixed brews, I believe this first one here wants an awkward potion. So it'll take a little bit to fill up the spell damage one here, but we can go ahead and grab that as well. I think what I'm going to do is these will be a separate production line. This one right here is going to be just for power generation. The actual power generation is going to be an actual alchemical source link, probably underground here, and it'll just be routing power back to the main hub over here, which is just kind of a bunch of jars around a depositor, splitter, and collector relays. So now we have some options. Right now she's just making a classic Mage Bloom based spell damage potion, which will be worth 297 base for the base there. 297 is 2.97% of a jar, so she's got, once she has a full jar here, 100%, that will be worth 3 jars basically. 297 is roughly 300, so yeah, not sure. So here we have some decisions to make, and that is, do we want to extend or amplify this? Hopefully, rain. So extending, that is going to be a redstone per potion, or redstone per 3 potions rather, and amplified is 547, but that will take a glowstone. Now I don't really have a good source of glowstone yet. I only have 220, and that's mostly just from going to the nether really. Redstone is a bit more reliable. I've got a lot more of it first off, but that would require routing things from over here. I think this is currently set up to be a cobble gem at the moment. Yes, just a classic break. Added in some stack upgrades, so we've got quite a lot in here. But I'm not currently producing redstone is the problem, and in order to produce redstone I'm also going to end up with a ton of other materials with the iron and gold and all that stuff, which granted I do want iron and gold, but the problem is it's going to take a lot of storage. If I look in here, we've got redstone, we've got 605 redstone dust, but remember these are just general chests. Like here's a stack of redstone. The actual redstone dust is, it takes up quite a lot of room, like copper as well, and copper is also going to be being produced here, so I'm not entirely sure if I want to go with that, or if I want to start setting up the system here. For instance, all the things I get from crushing can go into the barrels here, can store a whole lot more. I think I might be able to do void upgrades as well. I don't like voiding things, but that will store a lot. I think for now I'm just going to go with regular potions of spell damage. I think. I'm not entirely sure if that is the ideal solution here or what, but it's only going to be 3% per jar instead of 4%. Is not that much better. 5.5 would be good, but that, like I said, requires glowstone, and the only really good source of glowstone in this is going to be capturing a witch and having her over here. And quite honestly, I don't know if it's going to keep up with that, especially since my base can be relying on it running, whereas this thing here is going to be running continuously. Okay, so for now we need to actually set up the rest of our generation anyway. That is up to 100, or 99 rather. One interesting thing is because it does 3 at a time, it won't ever actually hit 99 without, or it won't hit 100 if you don't take out 2 of them, so that 2 more will fit, or 3 more rather. So that's going to sit there at 99. In the meantime, she's going to just start producing, excuse me, you're going to start producing Awkward Potion? Yes? Well, she should be. Either way, we can go ahead and get started on the rest of the system here, and I think what we're going to do is, I'm not entirely sure the range of an alchemical source link. I know if I put it here, you'll be able to reach that. I don't want it right here though, because this is a pathway. I could easily just put it back here. Cool, reached 100. And that, the thing is, I don't want it to grab from the Awkward Potion. I think it shouldn't be reaching that far. Either way, let's go ahead and put a jar right there, I think. We'll move the light up top here. Let me switch you back to being white. There we go. I changed it to green because if you light the rituals here, then it gets rid of the particle effects. So, yay, it's still green, but no particles. Except for the rain, of course. Over here, I'm going to put some tables here, like I said. In the meantime, that is... that is full already. Cool. You're down 62%, which makes sense, so this does work pretty quickly. I think the Wixie is going to be my limiter here, actually, but that might get updated later. In the meantime, let's go ahead and grab our Dominion Wand, go from the jar over to here, and I'm not sure how I want to do this. So right now I have this jar here hooked up to the main system, and I'm pretty sure it won't reach directly to this relay. Where do I want to relay? In the meantime, I can put something here. I'm not entirely sure for aesthetics. Let's put it there for now. And from you, oh, so that sends it to you. Cool. And then from you to this jar, and with that, power is now fully hooked up. That's going to be filling up that jar when it eventually needs it, which is not going to be too much. That's at 100%. This, by the way, is going to consume pretty much this whole jar. Don't break these. They have a massive internal buffer. I believe 2 jars. You're taking from that jar. That's fine. Mostly I want this whole area to be kind of self-sufficient. If the rest of my source gets completely consumed, I want that to still be running. So basically, the ritual here is being powered by the agronomic, which fills the jar. The Wixie can also reach from that jar, so if everything else gets drained entirely, they'll still be able to work. Okay, so I've done a little bit of testing and kind of mixed results. So if I go over here, I switch this from being a cobblestone generator to being an ore generator. So we've got touch, chaining, crush 3 item pickup, which gets us quite a bit of resources here. If I turn that on, it'll crush the whole thing all at once there. And once it gets going, there we go. So I'll do 16 blocks at a time, and that uses, well, quite a bit of source. And if we take a look at what's going on here, we can see most of the source is coming from the potion generator. Coming over here, we've got a little bit from the agronomic that's kind of collecting from the field here. But you'll notice that the mycelial generators, or source links, whatever, they are currently not running. And the reason for that is this thing never reaches below 100%. So they have source stored up in them. They're not going to start eating until they are able to send their source somewhere. And it's not really sending any because it's all getting pulled from the potions, which works. I think I might be switching this to being 2 Wixies instead of just 1, just because right now she has to do 2 crafting cycles, 1 for the awkward, 1 for the spell damage here. We're down to 55%. It was at 100 not too long ago. I let it run for a bit. I mean, I think it's not quite keeping up. Yeah, it's not keeping up because it was at 100%, so now it's down to 55, and to 54, 53, so it keeps draining. Like I said, the source link does have some backup storage in it, roughly 2 jars, and it's able to transfer up to 1 jar per transfer, which is apparently, oh wait, that's the jar to relay transfer there. Those guys can transfer, I think, 10% per pulse. But basically, it's getting everything it needs over there, but I think I would rather have it working such that it'll drain this first, because this thing here is sitting idle, and right now it's not going to kick in until I'm out of potions, which I think, since this is kind of more of a passive generation, I think I'd rather have it drawing from this first before sending it, like before needing to kick in with the potions. Just because it's a little bit more involved with this. Once this starts running down, it's sort of like a big capacitor instead of like a passive generator where it can go slowly. It's a capacitor. It's got a lot of power that's stored up, and it's ready to send it all pretty much all at once, but it can't store as much. I mean, yes, there are capacitors that can store more, but anyway, the analogy works. So I think what I need to do is figure out how I can get the berries to be used first. And once they can't keep up, like for instance, I know this cannot keep up with it, then the potions can start sending power. Taking a look at this, I think what my options are going to be is kind of redoing the whole source generation and transferring, pretty much for the whole base actually, for that matter. I'm not entirely sure that I like how it's currently set up. Right now I have, basically the problem is I'm limited in resources. I'd like to use more splitters, and I don't have enough resources for those yet because it uses a lot of quartz, and I don't really have a good source of quartz. Mostly it's just mining it in the nether, which is not really sustainable. Basically what I need to do is, from what I can tell, the jar over there is being sent to this jar with priority because it's being routed by a source relay. The relay is a higher priority, I guess, than the source link. Source link is sending directly to this jar. So what I would need to do is have mycelial to a jar, to a relay, to this jar, routing it that way, because that's basically what it is over here. And I think what I'll need to do is have to connect that one first, so that this is the second one that's connected to that jar. I think that should work. I don't have a whole lot of room for that here though, and I kind of want to rearrange some of the stuff anyway. So I think for now I'm just going to leave it as it is, where it's taking from the potions priority. I don't like it, but it'll work for now. It produces more than my baseline load if I'm not running the crusher. Currently the only thing that's actually consuming source is the Drigmees over here, and I can easily turn that off. But I think I'm going to probably rearrange some of that, use a lot more splitters throughout the base, because I think one splitter can probably pull from both that jar and a jar over here. So I think I can do something like that. I also have a lot more room over here. I can easily do, you know, 2 more buildings like this, one over there, one over here. So I can do either more potion generation or different sources of source. Those are all different options. I'll probably have some crop fields somewhere as well, because we'll need that for some of the quests. But I think in general this will work, but I'm not quite happy with it. I do want to do more tweaking. This, for instance, is a regular source relay. I'd probably have it be a splitter so it can pull from multiple areas. And then let that one kind of take the priority, I think, is how I would do it. It currently sends over to here at the depositor, which sends to all these jars. Collector collects from all these jars and sends it to the splitter. Splitter here currently sends to that relay right there and a relay over here. I'll eventually have one over there probably as well, depending on what I have over in that corner. And then these, I believe, are splitters, which sends it to a jar over there, and a jar over there, and a jar... Where do you pull from there, I think? Yeah. So like I said, I want to rearrange some of this anyway, and I'll probably do that once I get more of a structure built here. Like I said before, I want to have this be multiple floors, and I think the second floor is going to be automation, for instance, the essences. Currently I just have this right here, which is not really working too well for me, just because it's only a single one. So I'll probably move that upstairs here, probably about this height here. Something like that, but I'm going to rearrange a lot of this anyway. So I think since this works, I think I'm going to leave it for now. So one last thing I want to go over today is, how did I get the spruce for that building to begin with? Over here we have ourselves a ritual brazier. Currently nothing is in it. Let's go ahead and get a forestation ritual going here. Tablet used for rituals, consumed on use, blah, blah, blah. This one here, it's a pretty cheap recipe. We're going to get 2 of these. If I take a look at this holding down shift, we can see that it will grow oak and birch trees and applies bone meal. Basically gets you a whole bunch of grass. Augmenting it with source gem will increase the radius, kind of like the islands. Don't need to worry about that for right now. Augmenting with a brown mushroom will convert the area to podzol and spawn tiger resources. Augmenting with glowberries will spawn jungle resources. So I've seen asked quite a few times, where do we get things like cocoa beans? So the way you do that is with the tablet of forestation here. You can see from the podzol here, I did the taiga version, which got me some spruce for that. It also got me, I think, a single sweetberry. Yeah, single sweetberry. I bone mealed it a little bit, so I got 20 there. So that's how you get these. I'm going to go ahead, get you started, and I'm just going to run you regular. Goes pretty quickly, doesn't use a whole lot of source, if any at all, actually. I think actually, oh yeah, with most rituals, especially if they can use source, they will generally cast their effect once and then need recharge. So it's kind of like the tablet itself is a free casting of it. You'll notice that for like a scryer tablet, you don't need source to run that, whereas like the tablet of containment here, if you use a single tablet, it will capture 1 round of things. And I say 1 round because if you have multiple jars and multiple things for it to capture, it will capture them all in one kind of batch, but then it'll sit here waiting for having more power. This one is within range of the jars over there, so it will continually recharge. Whereas this over here, I only needed it to go just a little bit. It didn't really bone meal anything here because bone mealing podzol doesn't do much, but that does now get me birch saplings, oak, and oak saplings, which means I also can get apples now. Let's go ahead and chop everything down. If I have enough source, which I don't, or mana rather. I'm just going to break you manually. There we go. And the last one right here. So that's the way that you'd unlock these additional types of materials, especially the different saplings. And let's do one more here. I think it said a glowberry. Yes. Let's go ahead and throw all the rest of this in here. I don't need it anymore. Grab one glowberry. Thank you very much. We already have bamboo, so I don't need that. I really just need the jungle and ideally some cocoa. And I don't think we need to care about any other ground cover. We have grass. I don't have silk touch yet. I can still get grass using gravity. So that gets me grass, podzol. We have mycelium over there as well. So I think we're good for the actual grass type blocks. Let's go ahead and do you and hope we can get... Yes, we got at least one cocoa bean. Perfect. Unlike the island rituals, these are not based off of a specific structure. It is actually random generation. So we did luck out here in getting some cocoa beans. I'm going to grab some bone meal here real quick. Just so I can get a few more of these out of here. I don't currently have a very good way of farming this. We have turrets and we have a break spell, so yes, we could do just a standard like touch break turret, and then a touch place block turret and let it grow. Not ideal, but it does exist. We can do that. Let's go ahead and switch you over to fell. And we should have plenty of saplings from all this. And I think that should be... currently we don't have a way of getting two types of saplings. One is dark oak. We can't do this for dark oak. And acacia. Those we have to get through wandering traders, I believe. Maybe regular... No, it has to be wandering traders. Those are the only ones that actually sell those. Oh, and one other resource that I've been asked a lot how to get is bees. Some of the quests need honey. In fact, we may want to get some honey later for using copper blocks, since those need to be waxed in order to, keep them whatever color they are. And the way you do that is vanilla. We have here a poppy, and I think that is the wrong item. Just any sort of flower really is what we need. And if we plant a few saplings here, we can just kind of go in a row and bone meal these, there will be a random chance of getting a bee hive or bee nest. I can't remember if it's a hive or a nest. But let's go ahead, grow some of these. No luck. What about you? Nope. And you? Nope. I can't remember the percent chance of this. I think it's like 1 in 20, which isn't great. I wonder if the biome matters. The biome might actually matter here. Maybe. We'll see. Either way, it gets me lots of birch, which is good for a lot of other materials. Nothing from you. Nope. 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 And last one, nope. Okay, well, no luck today, but we will try again later to get some bees, because we're going to need some of those. I think we're going to call this for an episode, though. We've got a lot done with the potion setup over there. Right, I don't have wings, so I can't fly. Yeah, we got potions going, which means we have a bit more powerful power generation here. We're going to clean up this area, and like I said, I'm going to probably have a few more generation things over here. Not entirely sure, but we'll figure out what we do as we kind of go on, and I think I'm going to start work on the actual storage hall, sorting out the actual storage situation with the barrels and the chests and all that stuff, as well as let's get a second floor in here, but that'll be a thing for next episode. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.